Okay, pre-calc folks, it's your first experience with the Ice Cubed YouTube channel. That's right, I have my own YouTube channel. And today is just a short Wednesday lesson. We're going to put everything we know about quadratics, graphing quadratics, all the parts of quadratics, along with describing graphs all together in 2 slides today. So here we are. We're starting with f of x equals 2x squared minus 13x minus 7. Y-intercept, remember it's easy to get it from standard form. We just plug 0 in for x. So we really want f of 0. 2 times 0 squared minus 13 times 0 minus 7. And remember, your y-intercept is always that c value. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. And so my y-intercept is 0, negative 7. So I would just put that on my graph. Got 0, negative 7. All right, x-intercepts. I made this factorable on purpose. Let's say you aren't comfortable factoring or it's not factorable. You could always use quadratic formula. I'm going to factor. So we get the factors 2x and x. And there's only 2 values that would make negative 7. And I got to add to be negative 13. So negative 7, positive 1. And remember, when finding x-intercepts, we're always setting it equal to 0 because we're finding our zeros. So now I know that x equals a negative 1/2, and x also equals positive 7. So those are my y-intercepts. So here's a negative 1/2. Here's a positive 7 way out here. And now we need to talk about where our graph is increasing and where it's decreasing. And if we think about just here on the side, the shape of a quadratic, it's going to have a change at the vertex. And all we need to know really is the x-coordinate of that vertex. Now eventually we're going to graph this whole thing. We're going to know everything about it. But right now we're just saying, where is it increasing and where is it decreasing? So the first thing you do need to know is is this graph facing up or down? And because it's positive, we know this graph is facing up. So let's find our axis of symmetry. So x equals a negative b all over 2a. So we're going to have a negative 13 all over 2 times 2. So a positive 13/4, which is just a little bit over 3. So we're going to go right in here. We're going to put that, kind of draw our axis of symmetry through there. And going with our little drawing over here, our axis of symmetry, where my graph is increasing for this one is going to be to the right. So I'm going to say that starting here at 13/4, my graph is increasing. So 13/4. And then we know that our graph goes up to infinity. So to infinity. So because this branch is going up, it's a positive slope. Now on the left side of my vertex, if I'm traveling left to right on my graph, I'm going to go down, so it's decreasing. And that's up to my 13/4 point. So I'm going to have negative infinity up to 13/4. Right. I know my lighting kind of makes the focus weird, so hopefully you can see all that. Now we have a series of inequalities on the bottom, and this is where I can just sketch in a graph. I already know my x-intercepts. I know my graph is facing up because it's a positive a value. So I'm going to use my x-intercepts, even like what little I know about my y-intercept, and I'm just going to sketch a graph. It doesn't even have to be accurate. All I need to know is what part is above 0 and what part is below 0. And we know everything above the x-axis, all of this area up here, this is positive. All right, so when I ask, where is f of x greater than 0, or where are my y values greater than 0 above the x-axis, and we have this section here and this section here. Those are both above 0. So I can describe those with interval notation, saying negative infinity up to my x-intercept there, which is negative 1/2. I'm not going to include it because it doesn't say I'm equal to 0. And, or union with, starting here at my x-intercept of 7 up to infinity. So what's the only part below 0? It's this u down here. I don't care how far it goes, but I know between negative 1/2 and positive 7, it's all below 0. So my interval there, negative 1/2 up to 7. All right. The good thing about videos is you can always freeze this at any time if you need to take notes. You probably should be taking notes on this. You can also watch it again. So we're kind of set up to solve these two now, because the only thing different is I'm going to include these zeros. So that's going to add some brackets because the zeros included. So this one, really similar to f of x is less than 0. It's less than or equal to, so I'm just going to add brackets. And f of x is greater than or equal to 0 is like my values over here. I can't include brackets on the infinities, but I can put it on the numbers because it includes them. And so I would get negative infinity up to negative 1/2 bracket, or bracket 7 to infinity. All right. Take a moment if you need to right now and pause that. Make sure you get all these notes in, and we're going to continue on the next slide. Right. So, putting what I already found from the previous slide, 0, 7, negative 1/2, positive 7, and here we have our axis of symmetry. Now we want to describe end behavior, and we already said that our graph is facing up. So in this case, our end behavior would have to be up, up. We already solved for our line of symmetry. We got x equals positive 13/4. And now it's just asking for vertex. And so we could do that one of two ways. We could go and we could complete the square and put it in vertex form, or we could just use the x-coordinate of our vertex and plug it in here. It's not going to be pretty, but it is pre-calc, so you got to embrace the ugly numbers. So 2 times 13/4 squared minus 13 times 13/4 minus 7. So we're going to have 2 times 169 all over 16 minus 169 over 4 minus 7. Now I need to make a common denominator to combine all these, and my common denominator would have to be 16. So multiplying all of these top and bottom by 16. And guess what? That's just too much for my multiplication knowledge right now. So I get, actually I could probably do it by 8. But first I get over here, I get 338 over 16 minus 169 times 16. Oops, that should be 4 over 4. Sorry about that. So minus 676 over 16 and minus 112 over 16. So now when I take 338 minus 676 minus 112, I get a negative 450 all over 16. And I know I can at least divide each of those by 2. So a negative 225 all over 8. And I don't think we can simplify that any farther. So your vertex would be 13/4 and a negative 2/25 over 8. And we obviously cannot put that on the graph. But let me give it a chance for this to focus too, so you guys can get all the notes on that. All right. The process would be the same, even though you might get nicer numbers with something else. And we just use the graph. We don't need an accurate graph here for what they're asking. We just need to know where the x-intercepts were and the axis of symmetry. All right. Good luck, and I'll see you Thursday or Friday.